Please, somebody help. My son. He's not breathing. The desperate scream cut through the late afternoon tranquility of Chicago's Millennium Park like a knife. Zara Bennett's head snapped up from the medical journal she'd been reading on her lunch break, her EMT training overriding every other instinct. She was on her feet and sprinting toward the voice before her conscious mind registered the decision. A well-dressed Asian woman in her 30s knelt beside a small child on the grass near Cloud Gate. The boy, maybe 4 years old, wearing an expensive-looking school uniform, lay motionless, his lips already taking on a dangerous blue tinge. Several onlookers had gathered, but nobody was helping. Everyone frozen in that terrible moment of crisis when action seems impossible. "Move aside," Zara commanded, her voice carrying the authority of someone who'd worked in emergency medicine for 6 years. She dropped to her knees beside the boy, her hands already moving through the assessment protocol she could perform in her sleep. Airway compromised, breathing shallow and labored. Skin mottled, throat swelling visibly. Anaphylactic shock. Severe allergic reaction. She had maybe 2 minutes before irreversible damage occurred. "When did this start?" Zara demanded, already digging through her oversized purse for the emergency medical kit she always carried, a paranoid habit born from her own near-death experience with a bee sting 5 years ago. "Just now. We were feeding the ducks and he suddenly collapsed. I don't know what happened." The woman was nearly incoherent with panic. Zara's fingers closed around the EpiPen. Thank God. She yanked it free, pulled off the safety cap, and jabbed it firmly into the child's thigh right through his uniform pants. The spring-loaded injection was automatic, delivering 0.3 milligrams of epinephrine directly into the muscle. "Come on, baby," Zara murmured, starting chest compressions while counting in her head. "Come on, breathe for me. 15 seconds, 30, 45. The boy gasped, a horrible rattling sound, but he was breathing. Color began flooding back into his face. His eyes fluttered open, confused and frightened. "Shh, it's okay," Zara soothed, turning him into the recovery position. "You're going to be fine. You had an allergic reaction, but you're safe now." The woman collapsed beside them, sobbing. "Thank you, thank you, thank you. You saved my nephew's life. How can I ever repay you?" "You can't," Zara said honestly, checking the boy's pulse, elevated but strengthening. "But you need to get him to a hospital immediately. He'll need observation and probably another dose of epinephrine. Do you have a car nearby?" "I called my brother," the woman said. "He's coming now." "Oh, there he is." A black Escalade screeched to a halt at the edge of the park, ignoring the no parking signs. The driver's door flew open and a man emerged, tall, easily 6'2", with the kind of presence that made everyone instinctively turn to look. He was Korean, probably mid-30s, devastatingly handsome in that sharp-featured way that belonged on magazine covers. His three-piece charcoal suit was impeccably tailored and probably cost more than 3 months of Zara's salary as a pediatric nurse at Chicago General. But it was his eyes that stopped Zara's breath. Dark, intense, blazing with an emotion she recognized, the primal terror of a parent whose child is in danger. "Minho!" The woman rushed toward him. "Ethan collapsed. This woman saved his life." The man, Minho, covered the distance in 4 long strides, dropping to his knees beside his son with surprising grace for someone in such an expensive suit. His hands moved over the child with practiced familiarity, checking vitals, examining the injection site on his thigh. "Anaphylaxis?" His voice was deep, accented, controlled despite the fear Zara could see in the tightness around his eyes. "Yes. Bee sting. Most likely. I administered epinephrine, but he needs hospital observation. The reaction could return within the hour." Zara stood, preparing to step back now that family had arrived. "You're a doctor?" Those intense, dark eyes locked onto her. and Zara felt the impact of his full attention like a physical force. Pediatric nurse, she corrected, very aware of her rumpled scrubs and the coffee stain on her sleeve from this morning's rush. Next to his polish and his sister's elegance, Zara felt distinctly ordinary in her brown skin and natural hair pulled back in a practical bun. I work at Chicago General. I just happen to have an EpiPen because I'm allergic to bee stings myself. Right place, right time. Providence. Minho lifted his son into his arms with the kind of careful tenderness that contradicted everything about his cold, corporate exterior. The boy, Ethan, curled into his father's chest like he belonged there. What's your name? Zara Bennett. Zara Bennett. He repeated it like he was memorizing it, filing it away in some mental database. I'm Minho Park, CEO of Park Industries. Minji, give me your phone. The sister, Minji, immediately handed over her iPhone. Minho typed one-handed, his son still cradled against him, and then offered the phone to Zara. Your contact information, please. Zara hesitated. I don't want a reward, Mr. Park. I'm a medical professional. Helping people is literally my job description. And my job is recognizing talent when I see it. Minho's expression didn't change, but something in his voice suggested he wasn't accustomed to being refused. My son needs a private nurse. Someone qualified. Someone who thinks quickly under pressure. Someone with pediatric experience. You've already proven you're all three. The salary is $300,000 annually. Full benefits. Housing if needed. Zara's jaw actually dropped. She currently made $65,000 a year and thought she was doing well. That's... Mr. Park, that's an insane offer. I don't make insane offers, Ms. Bennett. I make smart investments in valuable assets. You saved my son's life with a tool you carry for yourself and training you maintain despite working in a hospital. That speaks to preparation, to dedication, to the kind of person I need caring for Ethan. He shifted his son slightly, and Zara saw the boy's eyes were open now, watching her with curiosity. You don't have to answer now. Think about it. Minji? His sister pulled out a business card and pressed it into Zara's hand. The cardstock was heavy, expensive, embossed with gold lettering. Minho Park, CEO, Park Industries International. Call within 24 hours or the offer expires, Minho continued, already moving toward the Escalade. I don't wait longer than that for anything. Wait, Zara called after them. The hospital. Which one are you taking him to? Chicago General, Minho said without turning around. I want the best. I assume that's where you work? Yes, but I'm not on shift until... I'll have someone call ahead. Ask for you specifically. He settled Ethan into the back seat, Minji climbing in beside her nephew. 24 hours, Miss Bennett. Don't waste them. The Escalade pulled away, leaving Zara standing in Millennium Park clutching a business card and trying to process what had just happened. $300,000 for a private nursing position, with a child she'd just saved. It was too good to be true. It had to be. But Zara was desperate enough not to care. Her mother had died 6 months ago, leaving behind $70,000 in medical bills that insurance hadn't covered. Zara had been making payments, but on her salary, it would take years to clear the debt. Years of living paycheck to paycheck, years of putting her own life on hold. Unless... Zara looked at the card in her hand, then at the distant Escalade disappearing into Chicago traffic. 24 hours. She pulled out her phone and started researching Minho Park. Zara accepted the position. How could she not? After a background check that was more thorough than her FBI clearance for hospital work, 3 interviews with Minji, and a formal contract review with Park Industries lawyers, she found herself standing outside a Lincoln Park mansion that probably covered 10,000 square feet. Intimidating, isn't it? Minji appeared beside her, smiling sympathetically. I remember the first time I saw this place. Minho bought it after Ethan was born. Said he needed space for his son to grow. It's impressive. Zara clutched her single suitcase. Everything she owned that mattered fit in one bag, which felt pathetic next to all this wealth. Come on, I'll show you to your quarters. You have the entire West Wing. Bedroom, bathroom, private sitting room. Minho believes in his staff having proper accommodations. Minji led her through marble hallways that echoed with emptiness. Fair warning, my brother is demanding but fair. Follow his rules, take excellent care of Ethan, and you'll have no problems. Cross him, and… well, don't cross him. Noted. Zara tried not to gape at the artwork lining the walls. Originals, if she wasn't mistaken. Rothko, Basquiat, Yayoi Kusama. When will I meet Ethan properly? Now, actually. Minji stopped at a door. He's been asking about you since the park. Called you his guardian angel. The door opened to reveal a playroom that looked like a toy store had exploded. And in the center, building an elaborate tower from blocks, sat Ethan. He looked up as they entered, and his face split into a grin. Angel lady. Zara's heart melted. She knelt beside him, eye level. Hi, Ethan. I'm Zara. I'm going to be your nurse. How are you feeling? Good. Daddy said you used magic medicine to make me better. He held out a block. Do you want to build with me? I'd love to. Zara accepted the block, and for the next hour she and Ethan built towers while Minji watched, smiling. It was only later, after Minji left, and Ethan's nanny, a stern woman named Mrs. Chen, took over, that Zara truly explored her new home. The West Wing was more luxurious than anywhere she'd ever lived. King bed with Egyptian cotton sheets, bathroom with a soaking tub, sitting room with a view of the private garden. Her entire apartment could have fit in just the bedroom. She was unpacking when someone knocked. Come in. Minho Park entered, still in a suit despite it being 8 p.m. Up close, in better lighting, Zara was struck again by how handsome he was, all sharp lines and controlled power. But there was something else too, something she hadn't noticed in the chaos of the park. A deep sadness in his eyes, barely concealed. Ms. Bennett, you're settling in? Yes, thank you. Mr. Park, I want to say again how grateful I am for this opportunity. You earned it. He moved to the window, hands in his pockets, staring out at the darkening garden. I need to be clear about expectations. Ethan's health is my priority. He has severe allergies, bees, peanuts, shellfish. He must carry an EpiPen everywhere. You'll be responsible for his medical care, his meals, his daily routine. Mrs. Chen handles discipline and education, but his physical well-being is entirely your domain. I understand. Do you? Minho turned, and the intensity in his gaze made Zara's breath catch. I lost someone once, Ms. Bennett. Someone precious. I will not lose my son. Ever. If that means being overprotective, paranoid, demanding, I don't care. Ethan is everything to me. Everything. The raw emotion in his voice surprised her. I promise I'll take the best care of him. He's a sweet kid. He is. Minho's expression softened fractionally. He asked about you all afternoon. Wanted to know if his angel was staying. I've never seen him attached to someone so quickly. Children have good instincts. Or he recognizes something in you. Minho moved toward the door, then paused. My sister mentioned you lost your mother recently. My condolences. Thank you. Zara was surprised he knew. It's been difficult. Grief is difficult. But it doesn't last forever. Eventually, you learn to carry it. He opened the door. Breakfast is at 7. Ethan likes pancakes on Saturdays. Welcome to the Park household, Ms. Bennett. After he left, Zara sat on her bed and wondered what Minho Park had lost that made him understand grief so well. 2 weeks passed. Zara fell into a routine with Ethan, mornings spent on lessons. He was bright, curious, asked endless questions. Afternoons in the garden or the playroom. Evenings reading stories before bed. He was a joy to care for, sweet and affectionate in a way that suggested he was starved for attention despite all his wealth. Minho was absent most days, leaving before dawn and returning after Ethan's bedtime. When they did cross paths, their interactions were brief, professional. Zara told herself she wasn't disappointed. She was staff. This was a job. But she couldn't help noticing things about him. The way he always touched Ethan's head when he thought no one was watching, the photo on his desk of a baby girl that he'd turned face down, the fact that he never, ever smiled. "Daddy works too much," Ethan confided one afternoon while Zara applied medication to a scraped knee. They'd been playing in the garden and he'd tripped. "Aunt Minji says it's because he's sad." "Why is he sad?" "Because my sister died." Ethan's voice was matter-of-fact in the way only children's voices could be. "Before I was born. Daddy doesn't like to talk about her." Zara's hands stilled. "You had a sister?" "Uh-huh. I saw her picture once. Aunt Minji showed me before Daddy made her hide all the photos. She looked like me." Ethan twisted around. "Miss Zara, do you have kids?" The question hit like a punch. Zara had to swallow hard before answering. "No, sweetie, but I had a baby once. She died before I got to meet her properly." "That's sad." Ethan threw his small arms around her neck. "I'm sorry. I bet she would have liked having you as a mommy." Zara held him, blinking back tears. She didn't talk about her daughter often. 5 years had passed since that devastating night. The labor, the stillbirth, the empty ache that never quite went away. She'd been told her baby was dead, born without a heartbeat. The hospital had given her a death certificate, offered cremation services. Zara had been too traumatized to think clearly, had simply agreed to everything. Later, she'd regretted not asking to see her daughter's body, not demanding answers about why a healthy pregnancy had ended in stillbirth. But the hospital, Chicago General, ironically, had assured her that sometimes these things just happened. Nature's tragedy. "Miss Zara?" Ethan's voice pulled her back. "Do you want to give me a bath? I'm all dirty from playing." "Sure, honey. Let's get you cleaned up." In the bathroom, while Ethan splashed in the tub, Zara helped him wash his hair. That's when she saw it. On Ethan's left shoulder blade, a birthmark shaped exactly like a crescent moon, about the size of a quarter, darker than the surrounding skin. Zara's vision grayed at the edges. Her hands trembled so badly she had to grip the edge of the tub for support. "Miss Zara, are you okay?" "I'm fine." The words came out strangled. "Ethan, honey, has anyone ever talked to you about that mark on your back?" "My birthmark?" "Aunt Minji says it's special. She said my sister had one just like it." He twisted to try to see it. "Do you like it?" "Yes." Zara forced the word out. "It's very special." Her daughter had been born with that exact mark. The nurse had pointed it out, a crescent moon on the left shoulder blade, unusually distinct. Zara had only glimpsed it for a second before they'd wrapped the stillborn baby and taken her away. But she'd never forgotten. In darker moments, she'd convinced herself she'd imagined it, that grief had created false memories. But here was Ethan, with that same distinctive mark, a mark he apparently shared with Minho's dead daughter. It couldn't be coincidence, not a birthmark that specific. After Ethan was in bed, Zara went to her room and did something she probably shouldn't have. She started researching. Park Industries was easy to find, Korean-American conglomerate, started by Minho's grandfather, now worth billions. Minho himself had taken over as CEO 5 years ago at age 30, youngest person to ever hold the position. He was intensely private, rarely photographed, never married. But there was nothing about a daughter, Nothing about a family tragedy. Zara expanded her search. Minho Park, daughter death. Nothing. Park Industries family. Nothing relevant. It was as if Minho's daughter had never existed, unless he'd worked very hard to erase her from the public record. Zara's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Minji. Are you awake? We need to talk. Meet me in the garden in 10 minutes. Don't tell Minho. 10 minutes later, Zara stood in the moonlit garden, her heart racing. Minji appeared from the shadows, her expression grave. You saw the birthmark, Minji said without preamble. Zara's breath caught. How did you know? Mrs. Chen noticed you staring at it during bath time. She told me. Minji moved to a bench, gesturing for Zara to sit. I need to tell you something about Minho's daughter, about how Ethan came to us. I'm listening. Minji took a deep breath. 5 years ago, my brother had a one-night stand. He doesn't even remember it. Someone drugged him at a business conference in Chicago, and he woke up in a hotel room with no memory of what happened. We reported it to the police, but they found nothing. Zara's stomach clenched. 5 years ago, Chicago, a business conference. 9 months later, Minji continued, a woman contacted Minho through his lawyers, said she'd given birth to his daughter, but the baby was stillborn. She wanted him to know their child had existed, but wanted no contact, no money, nothing. Just acknowledgement. Did he meet her? No. She refused. She sent the death certificate, told him the hospital was Chicago General, and then disappeared. Wouldn't take his calls, didn't respond to letters. The lawyers said it was her right to privacy, that we couldn't force contact. Minji's voice cracked. Minho grieved for months, a daughter he'd never met, never even known was coming until she was already gone. That's terrible, Zara whispered, her mind reeling. 2 weeks later, a private adoption agency contacted us. They had a baby. 3 days old. Mother died in childbirth. Father unknown. They asked if we'd be interested in adoption. Minji met Zara's eyes. The baby had a crescent moon birthmark on his left shoulder blade, exactly like the photo the birth mother had sent of Minho's stillborn daughter. The world tilted. You think. I don't know what to think, Minji interrupted. But Zara, that birthmark is rare. 1 in 10,000 births. For it to appear on both Minho's biological daughter and an unrelated adopted child he received 2 weeks later, the odds are astronomical. Why didn't you investigate? We tried. The adoption agency was legitimate, licensed, thorough. The birth certificate they provided listed the mother as Jane Doe, died in childbirth. No connection to the woman who'd contacted Minho. The agency said confidentiality prevented them from sharing more. Minji's hands twisted together. We were grieving. We had a baby who needed a home. And Minho. He looked at that birthmark and wanted to believe his daughter wasn't really gone. So, we stopped asking questions. Minji. Zara's voice shook. I need to tell you something. She told Minji everything. The business conference 5 years ago. She'd been there too. A young nurse attending her first medical conference. The after-party where she'd accepted 1 drink and woken up 12 hours later in a hotel room with no memory and her clothes in disarray. The positive pregnancy test 3 weeks later. The decision to keep the baby despite not knowing who the father was. The healthy pregnancy. And then the labor at Chicago General. The stillborn diagnosis. The death certificate. The ashes they'd given her to scatter. I thought my baby died, Zara finished, tears streaming down her face. They told me she was born without a heartbeat. But Minji, she had that birthmark. Exact same crescent moon. I only saw it for a second, but I'd know it anywhere. And if Ethan has it, if your adoption story is true, if the timing matches, oh my God, Minji breathed. Zara, I think you're Ethan's biological mother. I think you and Minho were both drugged at the same conference. I think you got pregnant, and someone at Chicago General stole your baby and sold her." The words hung in the air, impossible, and yet making terrible sense. "There's more," Minji said quietly. "Something I've never told anyone. Zara, when we adopted Ethan, the agency gave us a medical history. Nothing identifying, just genetic information. The birth mother was listed as African American, the birth father as Korean. We assumed they meant the unknown father, but if Minho is the biological father," Zara finished, "and I'm the biological mother, then Ethan is—" "Your daughter," Minji said. "Zara, I think Ethan is your daughter, raised as a boy because we didn't know the truth. The agency told us we'd adopted a son. We had no reason to question it." Zara couldn't breathe. The garden spun around her. 5 years. She'd spent 5 years grieving a child who was alive, who'd been right here in Chicago the whole time, raised by her biological father in a case of impossible coincidence. No, not coincidence. Someone had orchestrated this, had stolen her baby, falsified records, and arranged an adoption that put the child with her biological father, probably charging the agency a fortune for such a perfect placement. "We need a DNA test," Zara managed. "Right now, tonight." "Agreed. I have a friend who can rush it through. Get results in 48 hours." Minji pulled out her phone. "But Zara, before we do this, you need to understand. If you're right, if Ethan is your daughter, Minho won't give her up. He's spent 4 years being this child's father. He'll fight for custody." "I don't want to take her away," Zara said. "I just want to know the truth. And I want whoever stole my baby to pay." "Then let's find out for certain." Minji started typing. "I'll have someone come collect samples tonight. We'll know by Monday." "Should we tell Minho?" "Not yet. Not until we're sure." Minji hesitated. "Zara, there's one more thing. Something that might be important. About Ethan." "What?" "The child's been having nightmares lately. Always the same dream. Calling for someone named Mama, asking why she left. Mrs. Chen thought it was just processing adoption trauma. But what if it's something else? What if Ethan remembers you? From birth? From those first 3 days?" Zara's heart clenched. Babies don't have conscious memories that young. "No. But they have instincts. Recognition." Minji stood. "Ethan took to you faster than anyone I've ever seen. Called you his guardian angel from day one. What if some part of your child recognized her mother?" After Minji left, Zara sat in the garden for hours, her mind racing. Her daughter. Possibly alive. Possibly the sweet 4-year-old boy she'd been caring for. No, not a boy. If Minji was right, a girl who'd been misidentified and raised with the wrong gender. That would explain so much. The nightmares, the vague sense of something being wrong that Mrs. Chen had mentioned, the way Ethan sometimes flinched when addressed. Zara pulled out her phone and searched for one more thing. Chicago General stillbirth scandal. Nothing recent. She tried. Chicago General birth records falsified. Still nothing. Whoever had done this had covered their tracks very well. But Zara was going to uncover the truth. For her daughter. For herself. For every mother who'd been told their baby was dead when it wasn't. Monday couldn't come fast enough. The weekend crawled by. Zara threw herself into caring for Ethan, watching the child with new eyes, searching for any sign of recognition beyond the obvious bond they'd formed. She noticed things she'd missed before, how Ethan always gravitated toward her over Mrs. Chen, the way the child's entire face lit up when Zara entered a room, small mannerisms that reminded Zara of herself at that age. Saturday evening, Minho actually came home for dinner. It was awkward, formal. Minji, Minho, Zara, and Ethan around a table that could seat 20. Mrs. Chen served Korean food that Zara had never tried, and she fumbled with the chopsticks until Ethan giggled and showed her how to hold them properly. Angel Lady is funny, Ethan declared. Daddy, don't you think she's nice? Minho's gaze moved to Zara, assessing. Ms. Bennett is very competent. Not competent. Nice. Ethan was insistent. And pretty. Don't you think she's pretty, Daddy? Ethan, Minji intervened. That's not polite. Why? Aunt Minji says I should tell people nice things. Ethan turned back to Minho. So, don't you think? Yes, Minho interrupted, his eyes still on Zara. I think Ms. Bennett is very attractive. Does that satisfy your curiosity? Zara felt heat flood her face. Thank you? You're welcome. Was that amusement in Minho's voice? Ethan, eat your vegetables. After dinner, Zara was headed back to her room when Minho intercepted her in the hallway. Up close, she was reminded again of how tall he was, how his presence seemed to fill the space around him. Ms. Bennett, may I speak with you privately? Her heart hammered. Did he know about the DNA test? Of course. He led her to his study, all dark wood and leather, walls lined with books in Korean and English. A massive desk dominated one end, and behind it, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the garden. Sit. Minho gestured to a chair, then moved to pour 2 glasses of whiskey from a crystal decanter. He offered one to Zara. I don't usually drink. Tonight might be an exception. He settled into the chair across from her, and Zara noticed he looked exhausted. Lines bracketed his mouth, shadows darkened his eyes. Minji told me about the DNA test. Zara's stomach dropped. Mr. Park. Let me finish. Minho took a long swallow of whiskey. She told me your story, about the conference, the pregnancy, the stillbirth, about the birthmark. He set down his glass with careful precision. I've spent the last 48 hours having my people investigate Chicago General's records from 5 years ago. And you're not the only one. There have been 6 other cases in the past decade. Mothers who gave birth to healthy babies, told the children were stillborn, death certificates issued, all at Chicago General, all involving the same attending physician. Who? Zara leaned forward. Dr. Sarah Walsh, obstetrician, been with the hospital for 15 years, impeccable reputation. Minho pulled out a folder, slid it across. Until you dig deeper. Then you find offshore accounts, unexplained deposits totaling over $2 million, and connections to a now-defunct adoption agency that specialized in private placements for wealthy families. Zara opened the folder with shaking hands. Photos, documents, bank records. She was selling babies. She was selling healthy newborns to desperate, wealthy people willing to pay premium prices. The agency would charge upwards of $500,000 per placement. Walsh would get a cut for providing the inventory and falsifying the medical records. Why hasn't she been arrested? She was, 2 hours ago. Minho's smile was cold. My lawyers presented all of this to the district attorney this afternoon. Dr. Walsh and 6 staff members who were complicit are currently in custody. The agency's former director was arrested in Florida. Zara couldn't speak. Justice. Finally, after 5 years. The DNA results came back an hour ago, Minho continued. I assume Minji told you we had them expedited? She did. Then you know that you and I are Ethan's biological parents, that our child didn't die, that Dr. Walsh stole our daughter, told you she was stillborn, and sold her to an adoption agency. He leaned forward. An agency that then placed her with me, her biological father, without anyone realizing the connection. It's almost poetic, Zara whispered, in a horrible way. It's criminal. Minho's voice was hard. My lawyers are preparing a lawsuit against the hospital, the agency, and Dr. Walsh personally. We're also reaching out to the families of the other stolen children. This is going to be national news, Ms. Bennett. Your life, and mine, are about to become very public. I don't care about that. Zara met his eyes. I care about Ethan, about our daughter. Because Ethan is a girl, isn't she? The agency got the gender wrong, or lied about it. We don't know yet. The agency records list the child as male, but there's evidence they weren't always honest. Minho ran a hand through his hair. I've made an appointment with a pediatric endocrinologist and a child psychologist for next week. We'll determine Ethan's biological sex and, more importantly, how the child identifies. If Ethan is biologically female but identifies as male, we'll support that. If Ethan is female and has been misidentified, we'll make corrections. Either way, our child's well-being comes first. Agreed. Zara swallowed hard. Minho, Mr. Park, I need to know your intentions. About custody. My intentions? He studied her. My intentions are to ensure our child has two parents who love them. You spent 5 years thinking your baby was dead. You deserve to be in your child's life. The question is, do you want to be? Of course I do. Then we'll share custody. Joint legal decision-making, equal parenting time. I'll have the lawyers draw up agreements. Minho stood, moved to the window. But there's a complication. What? I've spent 4 years as Ethan's only parent. The child knows me as daddy, trusts me, depends on me. If you suddenly appear as mommy, without context, it could be traumatic. He turned back. We need to go slowly. Build your relationship with our child naturally. Let Ethan choose how to define you. That makes sense, Zara agreed reluctantly. But eventually, Ethan deserves to know I'm her, his, their mother. Agreed. But in the child's time, not ours. Minho returned to his chair. There's one more thing. For this to work, for us to effectively co-parent, we need to establish ground rules, boundaries, a relationship that functions. We barely know each other. Then we'll learn. Minho's gaze was steady. For our child's sake, we'll find a way to make this work. Are you willing to try? Zara thought about the little person sleeping upstairs, the child she'd mourned for 5 years, the miracle of second chances. Yes, I'm willing to try. Good. Minho extended his hand. Partners? Zara shook it, feeling the warmth of his palm against hers, the strength in his grip. Partners. Neither of them let go immediately. For a moment they simply stood there, hands clasped, two strangers bound together by the most fundamental connection possible. Their child. The next morning, Zara woke to shouting. She threw on a robe and ran downstairs to find chaos. Police in the foyer, Minji arguing with someone, and Minho on his phone speaking rapid Korean. What's happening? Zara demanded. Dr. Walsh made bail, Minji said grimly. And she's threatening to go to the media with her version of events. Claims she was acting on the mother's wishes, that they wanted their babies adopted out but couldn't face doing it legally. That's a lie. We know, but she has resources and connections. This is going to get ugly. Minji gestured to the police. Minho called for extra security. Until Walsh is back in custody, we're taking precautions. Where's Ethan? Still sleeping, thank God. Mrs. Chen is with... A scream cut through the house. High, terrified, a child's scream. Zara and Minho both ran, taking the stairs 2 at a time. They burst into Ethan's room to find the child sitting bolt upright in bed, tears streaming, Mrs. Paul. Chen trying unsuccessfully to offer comfort. Daddy, Ethan sobbed. The bad lady. She was here. She said she was taking me away. Just a nightmare, baby? Minho sat on the bed, pulling Ethan into his arms. You're safe, I promise. But Ethan continued crying, inconsolable, until Zara sat on the other side and began singing softly. A lullaby her own mother had sung to her, one she'd hummed during her pregnancy without really thinking about it. Ethan's sobs gradually quieted. The child turned to Zara, eyes wide. I know that song. You do? From my dreams. The nice lady sings it. Ethan's small hand reached for Zara's. Are you the nice lady? From before? Zara's throat closed. She looked at Minho, who nodded slightly. Permission. Ethan, sweetie, there's something we need to tell you, Zara began. Something important about who you are and where you came from. Over the next hour, Zara and Minho explained everything in age-appropriate terms. How sometimes bad people did bad things. How Ethan had been born to two parents who loved them very much, but had been separated by a bad person's lies. How Zara had thought her baby had died, and how Daddy had raised Ethan not knowing the whole truth. So, you're my first mommy? Ethan asked Zara, processing. My born mommy. Yes, baby. I'm your biological mother. I gave birth to you, and I loved you from the first second, even though a bad person took you away from me. Why didn't you find me before? The question broke Zara's heart. Because I didn't know you were alive. I thought you'd died. But now I know the truth, and I'm never leaving you again. If you want me to stay. Ethan was quiet for a long moment, then, can I have two names? Ethan for Daddy and a different name for you? What name do you want? Minho asked gently. In my dreams, the nice lady, Mommy, calls me Arya, like the lion, Araya. Ethan sounded out the syllables. Can that be my name when I'm with Mommy? Zara's eyes filled with tears. Arya, lioness, strong and fierce. I love that name, baby. If that's what feels right to you. And Ethan hesitated, glancing down. Sometimes I don't feel like a boy. Is that okay? Of course it's okay, Minho said firmly. You can be whoever feels right to you. Boy, girl, both, neither. We love you exactly as you are. I think I'm a girl. Ethan, Arya, whispered. I always felt wrong being a boy. But I didn't want to make Daddy sad because he wanted a son. Oh, baby! Minho's voice cracked. I never wanted a son specifically. I wanted you, healthy and happy. And if you're a girl, then I have a daughter, and that's perfect. Really? Really? You're my child. That's all that matters. Arya threw arms around Minho's neck, then turned and did the same to Zara. So, I have a daddy and a mommy now? A real family? The realest family, Zara confirmed, holding her daughter close and marveling at the miracle of it. 5 years of grief ended in an instant. 5 years of emptiness suddenly filled. The aftermath was chaotic. Dr. Walsh recanted her bail and disappeared, triggering a manhunt. The media descended on the story. 6 stolen babies, wealthy families involved, a massive scandal at a prestigious Chicago hospital. Zara and Minho's names were everywhere. They handled it together. Joint press conferences where Zara spoke about her grief and relief, where Minho's cold exterior cracked enough to show his fury at the people who'd stolen 4 years from Zara and their daughter. The public ate it up. Tragic separated parents, reunited by fate, united in seeking justice. The other families started coming forward. Stories of stillbirths that never made sense, of grief that felt wrong somehow. The investigation expanded. More arrests were made. Through it all, Zara and Minho presented a united front. For Arya's sake, they put aside the awkwardness of their situation, 2 people who shared a child but barely knew each other, and focused on building something functional. It wasn't always easy. They disagreed about discipline. Minho was stricter. About education, Zara wanted a less structured approach. About how much to shield Arya from the media, Minho voted for complete privacy. Zara thought some transparency was healthy. But they were learning. And slowly, Arya was flourishing. The nightmares stopped. She started expressing herself more freely, picking out dresses she'd never dared ask for before, letting her hair grow, exploring what felt right. The pediatric endocrinologist confirmed that Arya was biologically female. Someone at the adoption agency had either lied or made a terrible error. With the psychologist's support, they began the process of updating legal documents, medical records, everything that had misidentified their daughter. 3 months after the truth came out, Zara officially moved into the Park mansion full-time. Not as an employee, but as a co-parent. She had a suite near Arya's room, equal say in decisions, and a relationship with Minho that was slowly evolving from awkward co-parents to something closer to friendship. "She's adjusting well," Minho commented one evening. They were in his study, reviewing Arya's latest medical reports. It had become routine. This quiet hour after Arya was in bed, when they discussed parenting and slowly got to know each other. "Thanks to the therapist you hired," Zara said, "and Minji's patience. Your sister is a godsend. She likes you, says you're good for Arya." Minho paused. "And possibly good for me." "Oh?" Zara looked up from the reports. "She thinks I've been less robotic lately." Her word, not mine. Minho's lips quirked in what might have been a smile. "Apparently, having Arya's mother in our lives has made me more human." "You were always human, just buried under armor." "Years of corporate warfare will do that." Minho set down his pen. "Zara, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Do you resent me for having 4 years with Arya that you missed?" The question caught her off guard. "No. How could I? You didn't know. And you gave her a good life. Love, security, everything a child needs. I'm grateful she had you when I couldn't be there." "But you should have been there from the start. We both should have been." Minho's expression was haunted. "I keep thinking about that night, the conference. If I'd been more careful with my drink, if I'd gotten your name, if I'd—" "We were both drugged," Zara interrupted. "Neither of us could have prevented what happened. And Minho, if we spend our lives dwelling on the past, we'll miss the present. We have Arya now. That's what matters." "You're right." He stood, moved to the window, a habit of his when processing emotions. "There's something else." The lawyers finished the custody agreement. Joint legal custody, equal parenting time, all decisions made together. But there's a clause they recommended I include. "What clause?" "In the event that there's a significant relationship change, the agreement allows for renegotiation." Minho turned back. "They assumed we might eventually date other people, want to bring partners into Arya's life." "That makes sense," Zara said, though the thought of Minho with someone else created an uncomfortable tightness in her chest that she didn't want to examine too closely. "Does it?" Minho moved closer. "Because I've been thinking, and dating someone else, bringing them into this complex situation, expecting them to understand our dynamic, seems impossibly complicated." "So, you're planning to stay single?" "I'm planning to consider other options." He was very close now, and Zara's heart rate spiked. "Zara, we have a child together. We're already co-parenting successfully. We live in the same house. We spend every evening talking. And if I'm being honest, I find you incredibly attractive." "Minho." "I'm not suggesting we rush into anything," he continued. "But I think we should acknowledge that there's something here. Chemistry, attraction, whatever you want to call it. And maybe, instead of ignoring it or fighting it, we should explore it. Carefully. Slowly. You want to date me?" Zara's voice came out higher than intended. "I want to explore the possibility of us becoming more than co-parents. If you're open to that." Minho's dark eyes searched hers. "But only if you want to. No pressure. Our relationship as Arya's parents comes first. Always. If you're not interested romantically, we stay friends and co-parents. And that's fine. Zara's mind raced. She was attracted to Minho, had been since that first moment in the park, if she was honest. But this was complicated. They shared a child, lived together, had barely known each other for 4 months. Then again, they'd created a child together, even if neither remembered it. And despite the circumstances, despite everything working against them, they'd built something good. Trust, partnership, a family. I'm open to exploring possibilities, Zara said finally, but slowly, very slowly, for Arya's sake. Agreed, slowly. Minho smiled, a real smile this time, and it transformed his face. Starting with dinner, tomorrow night, just us. Minji will watch Arya. A date. A date, he confirmed. 6 months later, Zara stood in the park mansion's garden, watching Arya play with the new puppy they'd gotten her for her 5th birthday. The child was laughing, running, being everything a 5-year-old should be, joyful and free. She's beautiful. Minho appeared beside her, sliding an arm around Zara's waist in a gesture that had become comfortable, natural. She is. We make beautiful children. Zara leaned into him, marveling at how right this felt. The slow dating had turned into actual dating, which had turned into love. Real, deep, surprising love, built on shared parenting and late-night conversations, and the gradual revelation of each other's real selves beneath their protective armor. We do. Minho's hand moved to rest on Zara's still flat stomach. Think this one will be as spirited as Arya? Zara laughed. She was 8 weeks pregnant, intentionally this time, planned and wanted and celebrated. Probably. With our combined genetics, this baby doesn't stand a chance of being calm. Good. Calm is overrated. Minho turned her to face him. Zara Bennett, I know we did everything backwards. Had a child before we even knew each other's names, became parents before becoming partners. But I wouldn't change any of it, because it led us here. Here is pretty perfect, Zara agreed. It's about to get more perfect. Minho dropped to one knee and Zara's breath caught. I know this is fast. I know we've only been together 6 months, but I've wasted enough time in my life. I don't want to waste another second not being fully committed to you and our family. He pulled out a ring, a stunning sapphire surrounded by diamonds, clearly custom-made. Zara, will you marry me? Not for Arya, not for convenience, not for any reason except that I'm completely, irrevocably in love with you. Tears streamed down Zara's face. Yes, God, yes, I love you too, so much. Minho slid the ring onto her finger, then stood and kissed her, deep and passionate and full of promise. In the background, Arya squealed. Daddy's proposing. I told him to do it today. They broke apart laughing. You told him? Zara asked. Arya ran over, the puppy bounding behind her. I said if Daddy wanted Mommy to stay forever, he needed to ask properly, with a ring and everything. I saw it in a movie. Smart girl, Minho said, scooping Arya into his arms, just like her mother's. Mother's? Zara raised an eyebrow. You're her biological mother, but Minji has been a mother figure too. And this baby? He gestured to Zara's stomach. We'll have 2 mothers and a father and Aunt Minji and a big sister. We're creating our own definition of family. I like our definition, Zara said, pulling them both close. Her daughter, her future husband, the life she'd thought was lost forever but had somehow, miraculously, found again. 8 months later, standing in the same garden where Minho had proposed, Zara wore a wedding dress that accommodated her 8-month pregnancy and said vows in front of their chosen family. Minji stood as maid of honor. Arya was flower girl, scattering petals with theatrical enthusiasm. And when the officiant declared them married, 3 people cheered louder than anyone. Grace, Arya's new baby brother, born 2 weeks after the proposal. Arya herself, and Minji. I love you, Minho whispered against Zara's lips as they kissed to seal their vows. I love you too, all of you, forever. As they walked back down the aisle, husband, wife, daughter, and son, sleeping peacefully in Minji's arms, Zara thought about the journey that had brought them here, the tragedy and the miracle, the lost years and the found future. She'd thought her daughter was dead, had mourned for 5 years, had believed the worst tragedy of her life could never be undone. But sometimes, the worst tragedies transform into the greatest blessings. Sometimes, saving a stranger's child in a park leads to discovering your own child. Sometimes, two people drugged and used and traumatized can find healing in each other. And sometimes, not often, but sometimes, stolen children find their way home, not to where they started, but to where they were always meant to be. Mommy? Arya tugged on Zara's dress. Are you crying? Happy tears, baby. The happiest tears. Good, because this is a happy day, the happiest day. Arya took Zara's hand, then reached for Minho's. We're all together now. Forever and ever. Forever and ever, Zara and Minho echoed together. And for the first time in 5 years, Zara's heart was completely, perfectly whole.